So, yeah, we're talking about this particular match in history. Brock Lesnar versus John Cena at Extreme Rules 2012. This is a match that a lot of people like to see. I certainly loved it when I watched it. I replayed it a little bit, a few times. But then when you watch it again and see the ending, you're just like, oh, God, why? This continuing usage that Cena has to win, even though he lost at WrestleMania. This is the thing. When I look at 2012 and the storyline John Cena was apparently going through in terms of between 2012, WrestleMania 28 to WrestleMania 29, and I'm looking at this and I was like, okay, so they're trying to paint this idea that Cena's life has fallen apart because of The Rock beating him at WrestleMania, even though that was really because of his own arrogance. But the idea is that they push for this, and the main subject of this is that they were trying to treat this like, oh, Cena's life is falling apart. It's all falling apart because he can't move on because he lost The Rock. He needs to redeem himself. But when I look at his 2012 run, okay, yeah, there was a mess of stuff he went through, especially in his personal life. And considering where people love to speculate about his relationship status and considering how that ended up, yeah, it's probably not for the best to even talk about that. But there's just it's this idea that they're trying to paint Cena as, oh, he's now on the down of his luck. Is this the end of John Cena? And this match between Lesnar and him was so good and so quality because it was so violent. It was so out of there considering we haven't had a violent kind of match since at least 2008. But the story is that, oh, well, you see, you see, Cena is hurt and Cena is mentally broken. But he had a year where he was still main eventing the shows. He wasn't the champion, but he was still main eventing shows, and he even main evented several pay-per-views, one of which with John Laurinaitis. And yet, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is the problem. You're trying to tell a story where Cena is the underdog now, yet I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the booking, I'm not feeling sorry for the guy. So he lost the match because he got arrogant. In fact, that kind of was warranted. And this was a time and period where Cena's push was weird with fans because now it was like splitting fans. Mostly some are starting to hate him because it's like, well, he's doing the same thing he did in 2008. He did the same thing in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. But then you remember, oh, wait, he also had the Nexus storyline that royally ruined everything and damaged his reputation with internet fans, especially. And even casual fans were like, okay, come on. I know it's Cena, but come on. If he, like, okay, here's the best way to describe that infamous moment. Cena gets DDT through concrete, he somehow still wins. This is much like this case. Brock Lesnar beats him down, beats him down in this match, bloodies him up, uses the elbow on him, and just tries to break everything in his path. And while this is less damaging, it still debunked. It really messed up the storyline they were trying to push for Cena. And there's always this talk about the ending after the match that was royally, like, one side says this and the other side says that. So Cena and Lesnar are having this awesome match. It's mostly one sided. Fans are loving this insanity, and I was loving it when I saw it because, hey, Superman's getting beaten down by Doomsday. And yeah, that's the vibe I kept thinking. This was Superman versus Doomsday, and Doomsday's kicking Superman's butt. And this is like beating him down, and Superman's trying to fight as much as he can. But this is the ending that bugged people, and this where Cena cheats essentially using the chain he has. Granted, it's an Extreme Rules match, so that's perfectly fair. and beats Lesnar. And this is the thing. I was there the week after his return. I saw Lesnar beat down Cena and elbow him in the face, breaking his mouth open and part of his nose. And I'm just like, oh god, this is awesome. Mostly because I am a violent person who loves the violent content that wrestling provides for my edginess. Edgy. So yeah, that was awesome to see, especially when you had the Three Stooges stuff going on that same night, which is like just and sure enough, everyone was bugged by this ending. And I can understand why. It kind of reminded them of the Nexus storyline. It really should have went a different way. Lesnar should have won, just like the Nexus should have won. But whereas Lesnar could survive and move past this, the Nexus couldn't. And here's the best way to describe it. So when the Nexus DDT Cena through concrete, which really should have been the end, and he gets back up and wins, which is a problem for everyone. And then when the politics came out, that Cena, he made that finish, which damaged a lot of people's reputation with Cena because it's like, oh, so you're just Hogan, except Hogan was racist. And overall, a very, 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 very terrible person. You are just rather egotistical in some people's eyes. But then reportedly Cena was like I made a mistake, everyone, but he never really tries to fix it, which is like, are you really sorry, or are you sorry that this didn't go the way you envisioned it, or it's just that you got caught? Yeah. If I was to describe this, it'd be like if Darth Vader, after he cuts off Luke's hand and tells Luke the truth, saying, I am your father. And then Luke's screaming, no! But instead of jumping, he force pulls Vader out of nowhere and throws him off the pole, and he just falls to his death. And it's like, well, that kind of sucked. Like, the hero's down mentally, physically, and he just does that. So basically, the sequel trilogy, in my opinion. But it's just so an odd decision. Like, this is the first time Lesnar's wrestled a match since 2004, and you're gonna have him come back and lose to Cena on the first time he's back. Yeah, and ultimately, this match would not be resumed. This storyline between Cena and Lesnar wouldn't happen again. And they tried to fix this. They tried to justify Lesnar's loss to Cena. When at the end of the day, I look at it and say it was the wrong decision, because if they're really trying to push this idea that Cena's down on his luck, that he's falling apart, that it's the end of John Cena, and he has to overcome this massive hurdle in his life, where he's at a point now where he's been the champ, where he's been the top guy for nearly, let's see, since 2005. So he's been at this for about 8 years, I believe, at that point in time. And then you're just like, well, why should I feel sorry for him now if he's just gonna just win after, especially the humiliating loss? And then this is the thing that gets weirded out. Cena does this weird passionate promo where he talks about Chicago and how he knows this is a CM Punk town, but this is really a wrestling town, and it's like trying to deflect the whole hatred the fans have for him. And yeah, and he says he will probably get sent home for speaking. He says he knows his boss will be fired for him on TV. Fire him on TV. Cena says he knows that, and he starts shooting a little bit. There is always this weird story that came out when I heard this. I was like, okay, one sounds like this is a storyline. The second, it sounds like, is this legit? Because it did seem out of nowhere. And plus, the thing that Cena promised, where he was alleging a retirement speech that would have led to a power vacuum, which would have been an interesting angle. But then Cena came back and was still wrestling, and he main evented a pay-per-view with John Laurinaitis on the same night as Daniel Bryan and CM Punk fighting, and it's for the world title. And yet you're wondering, why is the world champion, especially the definitive world title, on playing second fiddle to a guy who's supposedly supposed to be down on his luck? So there was reports that came out after Extreme Rules that Lesnar apparently got pissed at what Cena pulled, trying to make him look weak, and like because Cena was reportedly supposed to end the show being quote legit knocked out and taken out through a stretcher and trying to show that even though he won the battle, Lesnar won the war. Instead, it was more like, oh, no, no, Cena's perfectly all right. Oh, yeah, he may have a damaged arm, but, he's all right. He's not out cold or anything, even though if someone had a legit fight with Lesnar, they'd probably get killed, especially at this point. And like I said, they did try to retcon, saying, "Oh, well, that wasn't the Lesnar at his peak physical condition. You see, he got back from diverticulitis, which he really did go through during his UFC days." But it's like, it feels like you're trying to fix the thing you made, but yet you can't go back and fix that. This isn't a comic book universe where you could just go back and rewrite it and say, oh no, there's a hidden area here that explains how this happened and justifying it in some way. Whereas this is solidified. You can't just erase this loss. You can't justify. You never. And this is the thing that bugged me. This is the thing that bugged me heading into SummerSlam that a few years later. They never brought up Lesnar's bout with diverticulitis. If they had addressed that, oh, we don't know if Lesnar will be fully operable. So far, he has the shot on Cena so far, mostly through a surprise element. But you gotta contend that that diverticulitis aftermath is probably going to affect him in this match. If they had brought that up, I wouldn't be mad or complaining about that. That's just something that bugged me that WWE was trying to say, oh, Lesnar has diverticulitis. He had diverticulitis before he came back and had just had surgery, even though we never brought that up and even though like we never really played that into the storyline. Wait. Yeah, that's the thing. They're trying to make like yeah, it's like WWE is banking for you to just not pay attention to, oh, over there, that contradicts what we're trying to say now. But yeah, there was a storyline where Lesnar was screwed by WWE management and that he was told this and they did this with Cena and how it was supposed to be this whole, oh, he's probably not coming back after this. He threw a temper tantrum, got into someone's face. Ethan was like pissed off and everything. Yeah. And apparently the things he yelled at John Laurinaitis' assistant was about how things are a mess and everything that's wrong with the WWE. And some felt that part of the tantrum was an act just to show the locker room that he could quit at any minute, which he kind of could. Some of the same people felt the WWE officials could have been involved in Lesnar and trying to work out the other talents, which is something that annoys me to no end. The reason why some people could think this is legit was because they never showed this. I don't ever recall ever seeing a video that showed Lesnar backstage published by WWE being furious and angry. They would, if they really legitimately decided to try and treat this legit, like it's a real thing, they would have uploaded this on YouTube and try to make bank off of it and address it on television. But if they didn't, instead you're left wondering, why are they thinking, why is this even happening? Like I said, I'm not complaining about the match quality. I'm mostly talking about the ending and how there's all this mystery around it and why this storyline where Cena was supposed to be in this down on his luck, he's now in his prime. It looks like he's the end of John Cena as his top guy, even though the storyline, even though the execution was saying it completely different. That, oh, even though Cena lost things, he's winning everything. He's getting big storylines. He got rid of John Laurinaitis, even though we were clearly saving him up for CM Punk. But it's John Cena. We need to give him stuff, even though CM Punk's the champion, and CM Punk had rightfully earned his ass. Spent the last several years breaking his ass for us, and we should definitely reward him for hard work. He's not a John Cena. And yeah, this is the thing. I just don't know why they did this route. The match I really felt should have went to Lesnar. As much as I don't like the Lesnar character, and I could make the argument I don't like Lesnar as a businessman because although I can okay, that guy's got a good swagger in the business world, Oh, for a fan, as a wrestling fan, it's like, oh man, why do these part timers have so much carte blanche to do whatever they want? But yeah, the Lesnar that we got from 2012 all the way up to the Undertaker's undefeated streak, and honestly, a little bit before SummerSlam, where he beat Cena for the title and got back his payback victory, that Lesnar feels so different. Because, in fact, the Lesnar we had heading into Extreme Rules 2012 was extremely different than the Lesnar we get now. Like, Lesnar now still has Heyman, even though he's still not back yet at this time of this video. But it still felt like, oh, this Lesnar is actually different. He's speaking more, even though it's weird. But like, oh, he's showing character. He's showing a personality that's not just him being a raging beast. And yet, he still comes off as intimidating and badass. But yeah, no one. I don't know the ending about that, but yeah, the ending is just thing that just loses people's minds a little bit when they look at it. Like, wait, so did Lesnar legitimately go mad because of what Cena pulled, or did Cena pull this intentionally with WWE's consent and whatnot? Was this a whole work the talent thing, even though that's just the dumbest idea you could think of? Like, I'm still annoyed by that. Like, the idea of, okay, here's the plan. We're going to work our own workers. We're not going to tell them anything. We're going to treat this like it's the Montreal Screwjob, except the Montreal Screwjob was legit, whereas all this is scripted, but we're not going to tell them it's scripted because we want that chaos backstage that could potentially lead to disaster. Like Chris Jericho standing up for people and going ahead and getting Lesnar's face, even though that could have ended very, very badly for someone. Oh, really, it could have gone either way. I'm like, Chris Jericho has shown he can beat Goldberg in a fight when Goldberg was at the peak of his prime. Oh, yeah. But yeah, it's just, this is just an ending that royally weirded me out. Like, Cena's supposed to lose here, right? He is supposed to lose. Like, I'm still bugged by that. I know I'm talking in circles now, but like, that's the thing. I really kind of wished it could have been different if Lesnar beat him to really show that Cena is down on his luck. It felt like they were trying to compress the story, but then gave up and they realized, oh no, we gotta make this look like it's make the whole story, whole year of 2012 look like it was a downfall for Cena, and let's blame his personal problems on The Rock. Yeah, that makes sense. It's just weird booking for me. It's just a weird exemplary booking of why WWE seems to have like several writers trying to cook up stuff. Like one group of writers say, "Oh, we need to have Cena be down on his luck, can lose a lot of matches," and then there's this other camp run by Vince saying, "Oh no, Cena must be God. He must be bigger than the title that we created, damn it, 50 years ago." So yeah, yeah. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, but like, it's just so weird how they do this. But yeah, those were my exemplary thoughts on Neo Reality WrestleVerse. This was Neo Reality Entertainment, and on the Extreme Rules match between Brock Lesnar and John Cena. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my content in the description below. Sorry for the focus issue we're having. I move and then this happens. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my content in the description below. Stay tuned for more. I'll see you all next time, and take care, everybody. Peace.